Have you ever wondered what happens when you use a bonding treatment on your hair? Well, today we're breaking down the real science behind bond repair, so you'll know exactly what's going on when you use the product and if it's actually right for your hair. Before we learn about bonding products, we have to talk about what your hair bonds are. Hair bonds are chemical connections that hold your hair structure together, and the three types are disulfide bonds, hydrogen bonds, and salt bonds. And each one of these play a role in how your hair looks, feels, and responds to treatments. The first bonds we'll go over are disulfide bonds, and these bonds are the strongest bonds in your hair. And they form between two sulfur atoms in your hair's protein called keratin. Now, the building blocks for protein are called amino acids, and one of the amino acids that makes up keratin is called cysteine. And cysteine actually has the sulfur atoms needed to make disulfide bonds. And because disulfide bonds are so strong, it takes a little bit more to break them. So they can specifically be broken and arranged by chemical treatments like perming, relaxing, coloring, and even over time with heat or excessive heat. And because disulfide bonds are so strong, when they're broken, it's really hard to fix them, which is why when disulfide bonds are broken, you see permanent changes to your hair's structure and shape. And this includes your hair texture. So disulfide bonds play a crucial role in maintaining structural integrity of your hair shaft. Disulfide bonds are cross-links between adjacent protein chains in the cortex. The cortex is the bulk of your hair structure, and it provides flexibility and elasticity to your hair. And in case you didn't know, cross-linking means that you're basically joining two amino acids together in a covalent bond. And if the bond is more stable, it's harder to break. Now, because disulfide bonds are the strongest bonds in your hair, you need a certain type of technology to actually repair the disulfide bonds. And any disulfide bond repairing product, they're creating an artificial link between the two sulfur atoms in your hair. And I say that this is an artificial link because this is not the original bond that was broken. So in whatever brand you use, whether it be Ypres or Olaplex, the ingredient that's going to do the repairing is going to make that artificial bond. But you'll also need to continue using bonding products to replenish that broken bond. Because just because that bond was broken before doesn't mean that it can't be broken again. Now, some products you can use that have that disulfide bonding repair is, of course, Olaplex. Olaplex is a category starter when it comes to bond repair. When it comes to repair products, the most effective product is always going to be the treatments. So Olaplex number 3 would probably be the most effective disulfide bond repairing product to actually repair your disulfide bonds within the Olaplex line. I personally am not a huge fan of Olaplex number 3 just because I think there are better solutions out there. Because for my personal preference, I don't like pre-shampoo treatments that don't really detangle or condition your hair well. And for me, spending $30 on a treatment that I'm just going to wash off isn't as worth it to me, which is why I'm also not a huge fan of the Curlsmith Bond Salve. I just think, like, I know you're paying for the technology when it comes to Olaplex and even when it comes to Curlsmith. I just don't really like treatments you use before you shampoo unless it's really conditioning and it's more affordable, because it's something that you have to wash off and it's not continuing to repair your hair. So even though K18 repairs the keratin chains in your hair, by repairing the keratin chains, they're also able to repair disulfide bonds too. And I think the triple bond complex from Living Proof is a solid choice for a bond builder. I just find myself more often reaching for K18 than Living Proof. I just find that K18 makes my hair feel a little bit better, so I find myself just reaching for that more than I do the triple bond complex. And finally, we also have the Ypres bonding treatment. I prefer Ypres over the Curlsmith Bond Salve or even Olaplex number 3 because I think it's easier to incorporate into your routine, because you quite literally just spray it on your hair before you get in the shower, which is something that's easy to do. So rather than just waiting in the shower with wet hair like the Bond Salve or Olaplex number 3, but also the Ypres bonding treatment continues repairing your hair after you've washed your hair, which is another reason why I think I don't like pre-shampoo bonding treatments. And that's the thing about building a routines. You just find things you do like and you don't like, and you just use the products that you do like. Using products that you like and that you can regularly afford is super essential with consistent routines. And with consistent routines, you're going to get the best results and actually be able to reach your hair goals. The next bonds are hydrogen bonds, which are the weakest bonds in your hair. And although they're weaker bonds, they also play an important role when it comes to your hair structure, and they can actually break and reform with things like water and heat. So when you wet your hair to wash your hair, you're actually breaking the hydrogen bonds, and as your hair dries, the water goes away and hydrogen bonds reform with your hair. And also when you add heat to your hair, you're breaking and reforming that bond so that your hair can hold that shape. So example, if I have curly hair and I straighten my hair, I'm essentially breaking my bond and then reforming it again so that my hair can essentially stay straight. And if I add water to my hair after I straighten my hair, I would be breaking that hydrogen bond again and then also reforming it whenever my hair dries back to curly. Hydrogen bonds are weaker bonds because they're less stable. The stability of a bond has a direct correlation to how strong the bond is. So for disulfide bonds, they're really strong bonds because they're super stable, but hydrogen bonds are weak bonds because they're not stable. In general, there's a lot of products that can help you rebuild hydrogen bonds just because these bonds are so unstable. But they can also form with different types of ingredients. So you can have a bond between keratin and keratin, or you can have a bond between keratin and water, keratin and humectant, keratin and a protein. I've also seen specifically in Pantene that the Miracle Rescue line pairs hydrogen bonds with provitamin B5. So what does that mean when you look for bonding products? What I've learned specifically, brands will tell you what bonds they repair for each type of bonding product. When it comes to disulfide bonding, the brand will always say that they repair disulfide bonding. Hydrogen bonds, brand will likely say weaker bonds in the description. So if you're looking for a disulfide bonding product, the brand will specify that, but if they don't, it's likely hydrogen bonding. Because hydrogen bonds are weaker bonds, it doesn't mean that they're not important, because they're super important for your hair's shape, which is why you can change it so much, but also your hair's elasticity. Keeping all of that in mind, these are some of my favorite hydrogen bonding products. Now, when I select hydrogen bonding products, I tend to go more for drugstore. I think when it comes to buying repair products, you're either buying the technology or you're buying the brand, and I value the technology over the brand itself. For example, the L'Oreal Everpure line, the Garnier Bond Strength line, the Dove Bond Strength line, and even the Dove Intensive Repair lines all repair hydrogen bonds in your hair. But also higher end brands also repair hydrogen bonds, like Amika The Cure or Amika Midnight Mender. So if you're looking for specifically hydrogen bond repair to help your hair take shape and form, I would go drugstore over a high end. But if you like Amika, then get Amika. Now, we also have products that are a multi-bond repair, like the Living Proof Triple Bond Complex, the Curlsmith Bond Salve, which both of those repair all 3 bonds. Now, salt bonds are a little bit stronger than hydrogen bonds, and they mostly contribute to your hair's elasticity, whereas hydrogen bonds focus more on your hair's flexibility. And they're formed between positively charged and negatively charged amino acid groups in your hair. And salt bonds are primarily affected by pH changes. And technically, hydrogen bonds are a little affected by the change, but for salt bonds, just think of pH changes. For example, some ways the pH of your hair can be changed is through relaxers or perms. Both of these are very alkaline, or they have a very high pH. And by having that high pH, they disrupt your salt bonds, which allow your hair to be shaped and reformed. Now, perms and relaxers also affect your disulfide bonds, because they also break and reform disulfide bonds. And when it comes to acidic treatments, which means a lower pH, your salt bonds can be reformed. And products that are acidic also make your hair feel smoother and more manageable as well. And because the Living Proof Triple Bond Complex repairs all 3 bonds, this includes ionic bonding as well. And so we know that this product also has a low pH. This is Editing Serena, and I wanted to touch briefly on why I think there aren't a lot of ionic bonding products or brands that promote ionic bonding in hair products. So we already know that in order to make ionic bonds in your hair, that the product that you use on your hair has to be acidic. Most hair products are already acidic, because if the products aren't acidic, your hair is going to feel really weak, brittle, and dry. So I have a theory that most products already repair your ionic bonds. I need to look into this more and understand a little bit more about ionic bonding, but that is my theory, that since products are already acidic, most hair care products already repair your ionic bonds. And look, Yoshi's back here today. Usually Daisy is the one that sits in this little cat tree whenever I film videos, but for today, it's Yoshi's spot. So in order to repair disulfide bonds, there needs to be specific technology that creates an artificial bond between 2 sulfur atoms in your hair. And you can use products from brands like Olaplex, Ypres, the Living Proof Triple Bond Complex, the Curlsmith Bond Salve, and even K18 to repair your disulfide bonds. For these products, you're typically going to pay more because it's harder to repair disulfide bonds. And hydrogen bonds are the weakest bonds in your hair, and you probably break and reform them every day. But they're super important for your hair's flexibility and shape. So I would go more drugstore if you're looking for hydrogen bonding products like the L'Oreal Everpure Bond Strength line, the Garnier Hair Filler line, the Dove Bond Strength, or even the Dove Intensive Repair lines. And of course, you can always choose a higher end product if you really like the brand, like the Amika The Cure and the Amika Midnight Mender line, or even the Redken Acidic Bonding line. Ionic bonds aren't as weak as hydrogen bonds, but they're not as strong as disulfide bonds, and they can break and reform because of pH. Acidic or low pHs reform ionic bonds. And of course, to repair all bond bonding products like the Living Proof Triple Bond Complex or the Curlsmith Bond Salve can be used to repair your solid bonds. If you found this video helpful, please make sure you like and subscribe because it helps me create more videos like this one. In the next video, we're going to be going over the science of curly hair, and if that video is out, it will be right here. Let me know your favorite bonding products and if there's any products you'd like me to go over in the comments. As always, I love to learn with you and I can't wait to see what we do next.